Good morning, girls. And today we shall be doing the concluding part of the poem Crossing the Bar by Alfred Lord Tennyson. We will be doing stanza 3 and 4 today. But before that, as already noted, you have seen how in stanza 1 and stanza 2 he expresses of what of his wish of when he passes on from this life to the next, that there should be no fanfare, there should be no mourning, there should be no sorrow. And he acknowledges the fact that he has reached the sunset of his life and he has got the clear call of death. Okay? And then he talks about the tide, you see, and he says that the tide, it should be full so that there is no groaning and moaning at the bar, so there are no regrets when he crosses over and goes from this physical life to an eternal life, and he returns back to the place where he has come from. Now I shall read stanza 3 for you. Twilight and evening bell, and after that the dark. And may there be no sadness of farewell when I embark. So, twilight and evening bell. Twilight is that time of the evening when the light becomes very, very faint. It's the end of the day. Okay? Now you see this verse, girls, is linked to the first stanza. So you see the progression of time. In the first stanza, sunset, evening star. Evening star will only come after sunset, right? And then now in this stanza we find twilight. Twilight comes after sunset when the light is, very, very dim, and evening bell, and after that the darkness of life. Now this also is important because it's parallel to the first verse, in as much as the poet, uh, you know he he shows that definitive link between death, okay, and between the morning of the bar. Like he says over here, twilight and evening bell. Evening bell, why am I referring to the evening bell as the clear call? Because evening bell is a bell that's rung in the evening to signify the end of the day, but in this context, it can also mean the knell, 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 the death bell. Because you see, he is now preparing himself for death. He says it's the sunset of his life, and now is the twilight, and after that, the darkness of the skies, the darkness at sea that is reflected in the darkness of death. Darkness also stands dark, can also stand for death. So after the twilight, once you come to the sunset of your life, after that, what do you face? You face death. He's preparing himself for death. He's ready to sail out into the ocean of nothingness, okay, where only the soul exists. And may there be no sadness of farewell. Now this is reflected in the third line of the first stanza, and may there be no mourning of the bar. It basically means the same thing. He says he wishes that when he passes on from the harbor into the sea of eternity, at that time there should be no scraping, no grating noise of the bar, signifying that there should be no mourning, no mourning, no sadness, no tears. And the same thing is reflected here when he says, and may there be no sadness of farewell. Remember I spoke about the wish, and may there be, he is not sure, he cannot say for certain that there will be no sadness or farewell, because that is not natural, right? When a person dies, the sadness, the sorrow is felt by the family members, by loved ones, but he is hoping that since he considers that he has lived a full life, remember he was 80 when he was writing this poem, so he has lived a full life, so when he passes on, there should be no sadness of farewell when I embark. Embark now is very important. Why? Because embark is on a journey. He's going on a journey. What journey? On an adventure. Embark means getting onto the ship, okay? So he is going to get onto the ship that is going to take him out into the ocean of eternity, where his soul will be one with his maker. And now the last stanza. For though from out our home of time and place the flood may bear me far, I hope to see my pilot face to face when I have crossed the bar. And now,
though from out our bone, B-O-U-R-N-E, bone. What is bone? Bone is an old English term used for boundary. Okay, bone of time and place. You see, this consistent theme of time and place. The time is evening time, the progression, evening, going to sunset, going to twilight, going to night, and place. Place is the sea, because the whole poem is a metaphor of the sea, right?
And now,
so this boundary for out of, for though from out our bone, that means out of our boundary of time and place. Boundary of time and place, this refers to our life here on earth, because on earth we are bound by time, isn't it? It's not an infinite world. We are what shall I say, we are limited. We are limited by space, we are limited by time, we are limited by so many things. So there is a boundary while you are still on earth. So while you're still living, so for though from out a bone of time and place, the flood may bear me far. So now he has lived his life, and the flood again, the metaphor that is carrying on into the sea, the flood is going to take him far away from the boundary of time and place that is finite. Okay, where he has been limited, now he is moving towards his destination, which is an unlimited place, an unlimited space. The ocean, the sea is unlimited. Okay, where not only unlimited but unlimited and eternal. Why? Because the soul is eternal. So for though from this boundary of time, of physical time that is related to this world, to the worldly life that we live, and the flood that is going to carry me over the sandbar, the flood that is going to take me from the harbor of life to the ocean of nothingness, to the ocean of eternity. So though this flood is going to carry me far out into space, far out into the eternity after life,
and
he is
now,
not worried. He is accepting it. Why? Because he hopes to see his pilot face to face. Now, who's the pilot over here? The pilot, first get this right, since we are having the sea imagery throughout, a pilot is an actual position that is occupied by a person who, you know, when the big ships and the trading ships and all that, when they are entering, when they're going to enter a harbor, especially through a channel, or when they're going to leave, these channels are very treacherous for the big ships. So a person who knows the area very well, okay, he is given the designation of a pilot. He comes and he leads the ships out into the ocean. Without him, there is a danger of the ship being wrecked. And over here, when he talks about the pilot, he talks about God. I hope to see my pilot face to face.
And now,
while he's living on earth? No. When he passes, when he is guided from this life into eternity, into death, then he hopes to see the pilot. Another way you can think about it is just like, see, God directs everything while we are on earth, right? God gives us, but God has given us free will. So we are our masters when we are on earth. But when we are going out to meet our master, when we are going out into nothingness, when the soul is going to transit from this life to the next, at that time we need God's guidance, especially so. So just like the pilot comes, the actual pilot comes to guide the ship out into the ocean, like that, he thinks that now he is going to be guided out and he is going to meet his pilot. he has more or less now, he's moving towards his destination.
And
He's
now
going to meet his
the last
pilot
stanza.
face to face. He's going to come
For though from
face to
out
face with his
are
maker,
born
with
of
God.
time and
Remember, I
place,
told you again, once
flood
again, about the
may
Victorian
bear me
poetry,
far.
about the era of the
I
Victorian
hope
poets,
to see
about
my
this tussle
pilot
between
face to
religion and
face
science.
when
But over here, once
have
again,
crossed the
Alfred
bar.
Lord Tennyson, he is reiterating the fact that he will meet his pilot. That means
And
he
now
is
the
reaffirming
last
his faith.
stanza.
Over here, you can cross-reference with
For
Dover Beach.
though from
Even Dover
out
Beach has the
are
same kind of
born
scene.
of
It is
time and
evening
place,
time. It
the
is,
flood may bear
the
me
sea, the
far.
English Channel. He's looking
I
over the,
hope to
looking
see
out
my pilot
across the channel.
face
He can
to
hear the
face
waves. When he
when
sees the waves,
I
he thinks
have
about life.
crossed
He thinks
the
about
bar.
how religion is receding. Okay, and faith is receding. Okay, but over
And
there
now
it ends
the
on a
last
note where
stanza.
he does not affirm.
For
Matthew
though
Arnold does
from
not affirm
out
his faith, but
are
over
born
here,
of time
Tennyson
and
is
place,
affirming his faith.
the
He is
flood
sure.
may
He,
bear
for
me
him, the
far.
unknown
I
is
hope
not
to see
unknown
my
to him,
pilot
in the sense that
face
the
to
unknown
face
has
when
a
I
person who
have
is very much
crossed
known to
the
him,
bar.
and that is his maker, his pilot, someone who has guided him, who has helped him through the ups and downs of
And
life,
now
and now
the
at
last
last he is being
stanza.
guided out.
For
Transition. That's
though
why he
from
asks
out
for a
are
smooth
born
transition,
of
crossing the bar
time and
from
place, the
life,
flood
from the
may
harbor of
bear me
life
far.
to the ocean
I
of
hope
death,
to
to the
see my
sea of
pilot
acceptance,
face
to the
to
ocean
face
where the
when
soul
I have
will
crossed
be
the
eternal
bar.
and will meet with the eternal maker, with the person who has
And now
created him.
the
And
last
then we come to the
stanza.
last line, when I
For
have
though
crossed the
from
bar.
out
You notice the
are
spelling of the
born
word crossed,
of time
C-R-O-S-T,
and
crossed. This is
place,
because this
the
again
flood
stands for
may bear me far. I
C-R-O-S-S-E-D. What
hope
is
to
the whole
see
poem
my
about?
pilot
The whole poem
face
is
to
about him
face
crossing the
when
bar.
I
And over
have
here, the bar
crossed
stands
the
for
bar.
the barrier between life and death. So, but
And
it is
now
spelled as
the
C-R-O-S-T,
last
crossed,
stanza.
because crossed
For
also
though
refers
from
maybe
out
to the
are
cross
born
of
of
Christ.
time and
Okay,
place,
signifying
the
God, to the
flood
cross of
may bear me
Christ.
far.
So when he approaches the
I
cross,
hope to
you
see
see
my
this
pilot
beautiful
face
picture that
to
I've put in the
face
background for
when
you
I
of
have crossed
Christ. It's
the
a
bar.
fantastic picture of Christ steering, although he is steering
And
the
now
wheel, although the
the
human being
last
is steering the
stanza.
wheel, it is Christ who is
For
guiding
though
him.
from
It is
out
God who is
are
guiding him. It is the
born
pilot
of
who is
time and
guiding him. So
place,
although we
the
steer the
flood
course of our
may
life,
bear me far.
eventually we have to
I
go
hope
and
to
meet
see
our
my
pilot
pilot
face to face.
face
So
to
it's a
face
poem of
when I
affirmation
have
in
crossed
the belief
the bar.
of a greater being, of a pilot, of God, of that we have
And
come
now the
from
last
nothingness,
stanza.
and we have
For
been
though from
created,
out
and
are
when we
born
die, that
of
is the
time
end
and
only of the
place,
physical life.
the
But
flood
the soul is
may
going to
bear
live
me
on
far.
with the Maker
I hope to
and
see
in the
my
Maker. This is
pilot
very beautiful if you
face
think
to
about it,
face
because it gives us a
when
kind of
I
hope. Why
have
should you be
crossed
afraid of death?
the bar.
Everyone is afraid of death. Most 99.9 people are afraid of death. But if you
And now
know that
the last
there's something
stanza.
good, there's something beautiful, there's
For
something
though from
wonderful
out
that
are
lies
born
beyond the
of
realms
time
of the
and
physical
place,
life,
the
then
flood
you
may
accept
bear
death.
me
And
far.
once you accept
I
death,
hope to see
you
my
are not
pilot
afraid.
face
You
to
may worry, like
face
he is worried.
when
He wants the
I
transition to be
have
smooth.
crossed
I'm not
the
saying that you
bar.
must not be worried. Everybody wants a, a smooth death, a smooth
And
passing
now
out,
the
without any
last
troubles, without
stanza.
any trials. But that is in the hands
For
of
though
God,
from
right? So
out
therefore, he
are
uses the
born
word may.
of
May
time
there
and
be no sadness or
place,
farewell.
the
May there
flood
be no
may
mourning of
bear
the
me
bar.
far.
And then
I hope to see my pilot
I hope,
face
he hopes
to
that he has
face
lived a life well
when
enough
I
that when
have
his soul
crossed
goes out
the
into
bar.
eternity, his soul will meet his pilot, who is God, face to face, and
And
will
now
be one
the
with
last
him.
stanza.
Okay, so
For though from
and just
out are
so you
born
see this full
of
imagery that
time
has
and
gone on about the
place,
sea, the metaphor
the
about the
flood
sea,
may
about the
bear me
pilot.
far.
It is
I
a
hope to
spiritual
see my
poem also.
pilot
Okay,
face
an
to
affirmation of
face
faith in
when
a
I
time
have crossed
when
the bar.
there was such a lot of tumult about faith and
now,
religion.
the last
At this time,
stanza.
he chooses this mode to
For
affirm
though
his
from
faith
out
in
our
God.
bone of time and place